Hi, my name is Diana, and this is for you, Narranations. Today, we will start talking about Dos Mujeres y una Vaca, a Colombian movie production. This Colombian production addresses issues about armed conflict, paramilitarism, massacres, internal wars. All of these from the perspective of a couple of peasant women who just needed to read a letter. David, can you continue with the rest of the story?
Thank you very much for that introduction. So here I am because I'm going to tell you a story about the war, about our people fighting for just to live. So this is about two women and a cow. We are going to go through and check what is the role of the woman in the war. So this starts because they just received a letter from one important person for each them, her boyfriend and her son, and this is going to contain information about what is he doing, how he is, but more important, one of the women is pregnant and it's his son as well. So it's such important to know what's going on, and they don't know how to read, so they will need to go to town and they will need to find out what is going on to him and what's going to happen. But this way to town is going to take very difficult, not only because she's pregnant, and basically it's very difficult for her like to do this effort, to walk a lot of time, a lot of miles. So it's very sad that our people, our woman is just involved in something that they don't even care. The war is just because of power or because of money, and they are not involved into it. But even though their families, their friends, their kids are going to suffer this war, and we can see this because when they are in the middle of the way, they just find out that all of their families are being killed, and there is a lot of like kills in the middle. So I'm going to tell my partner to move on so she can continue telling you this.
These women face not only the difficulties of having to walk many kilometers, but also the war itself. Having to see that people that they know murdered and massacred. Ermelinda having gave birth in pretty precarious conditions and in the middle of the same territorial dispute. A total disaster. I'm going to describe a little bit of the problematics that we can find into this movie. Exactly and specifically about this peasant woman.
Now let's talk about the role of women in the armed conflict in Colombia. In the film, this situation is mainly seen when, due to the war, women are displaced in order to survive, exposing them to situation vulnerability. A scene that reflects this situation is when, in the middle of a town where a massacre had recently taken place, Ermelinda had to give birth to the child in an abandoned house. She and Rosanna were totally exposed to the risk that the guerrillas would find them and kill them, or that Ermelinda, not being attained by medical personnel or people knowledgeable about childbirth, could endanger the lives of Ermelinda and her baby. On the topic of economic inequality, women often face economic inequalities compared to men, which can be manifest in the film through the lack of access to job opportunities. Science, But Rosanna and Ermelinda didn't receive any economic remuneration for their housework, and being in a rural area where in general job opportunities are scarce. These job opportunities are almost non-existent for women. For that reason, they tend to stay at home. In addition, because of the idea that the man should be the provider of the household, though, to a conservative, sexist cultural idea.
Okay, as the education and opportunities, these two women is rural setting face barriers to accessing education as they are born alerted and economic opportunities. This highlights how the contracts affects women's ability to reach their full potential and how they struggle to overcome these barriers by having to go in search of someone to write the letter to them. Lack of access to reproductive health service. Women in rural areas like Ermelinda may face difficulty in accessing reproductive health service, including family planning and quality prenatal and obstetric care to the areas where they live and the complication of child. This can increase the risk of complication during pregnancy and childbirth. As well.
I had the opportunity to watch a video about the directors of this movie. So he said that he wanted to present into this movie not the representation of the heroic moments of work or about what the people used to do. For example, they want to present the perspective of the victim of all these situations about violence, about massacres, about all the inequalities and all that situations that people in the rural zones lived almost every day here in Colombia. Because there are another phase about how, for example, Hollywood present maybe people who are like heroes, because if they made something important or reliable about people or about the security, or they act in that kind of hero. But in this movie, it's a pretty different representation about how it's seen the war, the conflict, and all the problems that rural people who live here in Colombia must live every day. So for that reason, this movie is pretty important and pretty representative about how we deal and how we see our country. Yes, it's true that it's full of pretty things, it's full of good things to give, but it's also full of this. And most of us as Colombians, we didn't see it. And it's pretty precarious, all that information that we got about how women represent an important system here in the country. So for that reason, this movie is pretty important and amazing. So I pretty recommend it to watch it. And please, if you want to say something more about this movie, just let us know. Thank you so much for seeing this chapter of Narranations. Have a good night.